you, and it really is my pleasure to be here today to talk to you about digital careers, or more importantly, how you can have any career and elevate yourself with digital. So my background is cybersecurity and systems analyst and design, and I've run and started a cybersecurity company, a registered training organisation and a cleaning company. And all of them, I've been able to use my digital technology skills to be able to improve both my businesses and my own opportunities. And it really is my pleasure to be here with all of these wonderful ladies here today to just give you the idea around that anything is actually possible, and it isn't just one pathway to digital careers. It is really part of every single industry and opportunity and outcome that you're going to find going forward into the future. So it's my pleasure to first bring up Renee to...
Excellent. Hello. Okay. Let me start with my many jobs. I'm Renee, and you might have seen me over at the booth saying I'm a regional cloud advocate for the Microsoft Reactor, and you'll be like, what's a Microsoft Reactor? And it's both a place and a concept that you could go to, and you could in person learn some stuff in the Sydney Microsoft Reactor and connect with the developer community. But then COVID, of course, happened, so it went all online. So now mostly we're connecting with people all over Australia through online streams and workshops to give them skills and help them get started with a bunch of different technologies. So whether you're just getting started with coding for the first time and you want to learn Python or HTML, or you want to learn how to use version control and GitHub, or how Visual Studio Code can help writing code easy, or how to deploy a website or use a database on Azure. Basically, me and other people are creating learning opportunities for people to do that, and also helping university and TAFE students get involved in a bunch of different programs we have for students to accelerate their learning and both build their technical skills as well as their leadership and communication skills through the Student Ambassador program, for the Microsoft Student Accelerator, and through the Imagine Cup competition. So that's kind of some of the work that I do, and I'm super excited to be able to do that work through Microsoft, which I took on because I saw it as a great opportunity to make a big difference, like leverage the size of the company to make a big difference in terms of including people and improving diversity in their participation in these skilling opportunities. Because my background actually, I didn't learn to code until I was at university, had no idea what it was, didn't know you could do it on a regular computer, so I'm really keen to make that abundantly possible to be aware of for every kid in Australia. So I run a program called the Girls Programming Network to provide free coding workshops run by women and girls. And yeah, so I hope to talk a lot about that today, and we've just started a charity to help expand that program. And I also do a lot of work. I've started a business to kind of take those free workshop ideas and make it scalable so that every kid in every school in the country can have the chance to learn through hands-on practical applications of technology to make technology seem like it's really exciting and it's really creative and it's really important for everybody to learn, not just people who want to be a hacker in a basement. So yeah, those are kind of the things that I do, and I get to work with a lot of cool women to make it all happen. So yeah, I hope I covered what I do.
Thank you, Renee. That was amazing. And now I'd like to just get Trine to come up and talk.
Can you hear me? So my journey started 20 years ago. I was working for a web company where I supported subscribers navigating through the website. Running from a small town in Australia and servicing customers all over the world, this was a real eye-opener to me into how the internet was breaking down those physical communication barriers. About a year later, I expanded my knowledge in multimedia design by enrolling in a course at TAFE, which would lead me on to becoming a web designer. After 9 years of working as a web designer, I embraced the field of user experience design, in short UX. And although my designs had always considered the functionality of the website and how website visitors would work their way through the information on screens, the field of UX shone a light on putting the emphasis on the user's perception and looking at their experience and behaviours from multiple angles. A couple of years later, I was working as a UX designer in a digital transformation project at a university that was shifting its learning management system to an updated version. It was during this time that I began to see how learning technology was delivering flexible learning options to educators and students and providing a variety of online interaction techniques. Once again, it was breaking down those physical communication barriers and benefiting all those students that might have once been restricted by distance, time, or capabilities. But what I found is that although we now had the technology available to benefit more people, the current designs, frameworks and understandings needed to catch up with the technology and user needs. And we saw this amplified during the COVID-19 pandemic, when all learning, collaboration and communications were rushed to an online delivery mode as we coped through lockdowns and social distancing restrictions. So this brings me to where I am today, recently taking up a new position as a learning technologist, where I explore the technologies available, the tools available, and how they are being used, and look at the ways the university can maximise efforts and provide the benefits out to more people. In my line of work, I focus on the usability, accessibility, and communication of learning, looking at how educators are designing with the tools and how learners are interacting with the content. This work includes user experience reviews, tool adoption and evaluation projects, and developing support resources and professional learning. It is a continuous journey and one that has been motivating and inspiring. I have met so many amazing people in this field, and the technology developments and the user experience insights just fascinate me. What I would suggest to those that are thinking about a similar career is to hone in on your special interests, learn all you can from the people, experiences and study opportunities that come your way, and carve out your own unique career pathway. We all come into a career in technology from varying backgrounds, experiences and challenges, and I would say it is that diversity that really enhances what we do in a job. Thank you.
Thank you, Trine. That was amazing. And we've got lots of technical people up here and I still can't use a slide. So I'd like to get Keziah to come up and talk to us about your pathway.
All right. So in 2020, I was in a similar situation to a lot of people in our audience. So in my final year of high school and trying to figure out the best career pathway for me. But unlike many of my peers, I had the tools to help me not only make the choice that was right for me, but also to stand out in a university setting. Today, I'm in my second year of a double degree as a scholarship student, studying a Bachelor of Information Technology and a Bachelor of Electrical Engineering at James Cook University. I'm also a tutor for the first year programming subject and a James Cook University student ambassador, as well as the founder of STEM Sisterhood, which is a business aiming to encourage females in the STEM industry. So I'd like to share with you today a little bit of my journey and the ways that you can set yourself up for life at university and beyond. When looking back at my journey to where I am today, there are three main things that really stand out to me as my secret ingredients, as they were. Taking every opportunity, creating connections, and undertaking internships. So it really doesn't matter if you're still in primary school, towards the end of high school, or whatever stage you are in your life. If you follow these three pieces of advice, you'll be more knowledgeable about what you want your life to look like, have people who will push you to be better, and have the skills that will set you apart and enable you to transition easily into university and beyond. So take every opportunity. So I remember when you were in primary school and you sign up for everything you could, you'd run every race, join the choir, even if you couldn't sing, sign up for every UNSW test, just because you could. And then in high school, it's not cool to actively engage in these programs, especially if you're not good at them. So I would challenge you all to seek out things, to do things even if you're not the best at them, just to gain new skills and experiences. You don't have to only seek out opportunities in the areas you might find a career in either. So a perfect example of this is public speaking competitions. So I personally am not a very good public speaker, and it never really came naturally to me. So throughout high school and primary school, I signed up for every public speaking competition I could find, and while I never won these competitions, they helped me improve this skill that I knew I really needed to focus on. And without that skill, I would not have been able to successfully pitch and win $10,000 to start my business, or get paid by JCU to talk to schools about university life, and just so much more. So the more opportunities you seek out, the more opportunities that will be presented to you. Because teachers knew I wanted to be involved and represent my school community, they actively showed me opportunities that I wouldn't have known about. Scholarships to national computing science schools, camps to university in STEM all around Australia, and so many other opportunities. All because of these small opportunities I took all throughout high school. So you may never be the most intelligent person in a room, but if you seek out and take every opportunity, you open doors that you didn't even know it was possible to. And creating connections. There's a saying that it's not what you know, it's who you know. And by taking every opportunity, you can forge connections with others that can help you along the way. The first connection I made in science and technology was with my teacher and now mentor, Ms. Sarah Chapman. The student-teacher bond that we had strengthened and changed to a peer as I've gotten older, and I know this is one of the main reasons that I'm standing here before you. It makes a huge difference having someone in your field of interest that you're able to turn to for help or even run crazy ideas past. Not to mention helping you see things differently to the way you may have, or even pointing out different things you might not have thought of. The best plans come together when you can think out loud and see things with this fresh perspective. But once again, it comes down to really pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone and having someone there who is willing to help you do so, to set you up for success and encourage you to take advantage of every opportunity you come across, whether you think you're qualified or not. Sometimes it just takes a push to get started, but once you're there, the possibilities are endless. And undertaking internships. If you think you're interested in a career, take a chance on a business and ask to intern for them. While you're still at school, not only do you have lots of school holidays, but most businesses will welcome with open arms a student who shows a passion for their field. When I decided that I was interested in a career in the tech industry, I reached out to Safety Culture, Lixia, and the Sustainability Department of the Townsville City Council, interning it all and gaining an insight into the technology and STEM industries. By working with these companies, I realised that I would like to work with programming and developing sensor technologies, which made it so much easier to decide what university courses aligned with these interests, without limiting my career options, as well as giving me knowledge that made the first year of university so much easier. After all, the most exciting breakthroughs in science happen when different disciplines work together, share their knowledge, and find applications for their research that they wouldn't have thought of otherwise. When you're young, it often seems that it'll be so long before you grow up, but in just a few short years, you'll be looking back at your time in high school and wondering where all the time went. You're at the time of your life where you have the support of your parents, friends, and teachers more than you will at any other stage of your life. If you take these opportunities, they'll give you 10 times more. If you make a connection, they'll go out of their way to connect you with others. If you give them passion, they will give you support to achieve more than you could ever believe possible right now. It is because I took these opportunities, created connections, and undertook internships that I stand before you, surrounded by panellists so much more qualified than me in the field of technology. It is an absolute honour to be able to share my story with you and how you can successfully set yourself up for success in the tech industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Keziah, and that is so true. Take every opportunity. So now I'd like to hear from Sarah.
Thank you. I feel somewhat IT inadequate next to these ladies.
We like it.
I do. I'm a nurse. I'm a Chief Nursing Information Officer. I work for a health tech company called Olinqua. We do software as a solution, and we integrate data in hospitals and basically do point-of-care alerts. But pre that, I was nursing. So I've spent 22 years nursing. I've traversed into education, into RTO, into university. I have kept my studies up the whole time that I've done it, and I've grabbed every single opportunity by its hands. So before I came and did the role that I'm doing now, I rolled out the education program up here for Mater Education, their Diploma of Nursing, and I've used my skills in leadership and management to traverse across into an executive role with this company. So over the years, I've been lucky enough to dabble in some startups from general practice, education, and now this health tech company with big plans to take it to the rocket stars. We say we're going to rocket ship to the moon, but fingers crossed. We are in a rapid scale-up, and what I've been able to do is use my clinical knowledge to work with the product team on our application development. So I get to work with the team on wireframes and iOS development, look at dashboards and what would help with the clinical and strategic operations within a hospital that's all human interface, UX, UI design. So it's been a massive learning curve for me in the last 12 months. And I very much bridge the language to the executive teams in the hospital and my IT guys who speak a completely different language. How do we communicate what we do in common language? So they bring me into a room and I can explain to the nursing team, well, integration means this, Azure means this, cloud means this. I would just say lean into any opportunity that you're given, and any skill that you pick up can actually be transferable across any domain. So I never dreamed of working in tech, and I'm sitting at the top with the CEO, managing this company and working with amazing people, doing amazing things for hospitals in Australia from a different angle. So I would just say go for it. Don't ever say no.
That's awesome, and really great to see that you've gone into tech away from a completely different angle. Very cool. So now I'd like to hear from Heather.
Hello.
JCU.
Yes, so nice to meet you. I also came from a very diverse background, not in technology and IT. So I was originally trained as a biologist, and you can probably tell from my accent, not here in Australia. So because it was biology and environmental science, I leapt on a plane and went to JCU and left my entire family behind, much to my mother's chagrin. Anyway, when I got here, I became really passionate about teaching, and I worked for 8 years at Cyro Education, traveling all around Australia, taking cutting-edge science that Australians were inventing and then making it hands-on for kids, prep all the way through adult education to do in sort of hands-on settings. So I was traveling sort of from Brisbane out to the Torres Strait, out to Mount Isa, doing all sorts of disciplines of science, and I absolutely loved it. When I had kids, I decided I probably didn't want to be away from home for huge amounts of time. And so I came back into the university, and I started to take up research again. And my research is in sort of forensic genetics. So I basically take a water sample, and then based on the DNA that's left behind, you can give scientists a complete picture of everything that's living there. So all the plants, all the animals, it's what they're using to detect COVID right now. And with that technology, this was pretty cutting edge a few years ago, and the equipment that we had to use was huge. It was this giant, like 19, 20K backpack, and my field sites are about 10 Ks down Paluma Mountain, and there was no way that I could carry this equipment down and do the research that I wanted to do. And so my journey into the tech space has only actually been in the last like 5 years. And with that, I just decided that there was no equipment that I needed. So I met someone, my co-founder at JCU, and I said, look, can you build me this crazy thing? And so over about a 2-year period, we designed and built this environmental monitoring device. And that was my journey into the tech space. And as soon as we had this built, all these other scientists went, oh, hey, can I have one of those? And I was like, well, I'm just a scientist. Like, I don't like really build these things for a living. And then Wayne and I participated in the CSIRO on Accelerate program for about 6 months, traveled all around Australia learning a whole bunch of stuff about startups that I never knew. And my brain was kind of blown, and I really had an amazing time. And I think one of the greatest quotes that came back to me in that space was they said, don't be afraid to jump out of the plane and build your parachute on the way down. And I think I've felt like that pretty much since I started this startup business. And then I guess during that time as well, I was working at JCU, and one of the things because of my teaching background that I do is I talk to parents, I talk to students, I talk to people of all ages about how to find your pathway at a university. So how do you find the degree that you want to do and craft it to perfectly align with all of your different research interests. So anytime a student comes in going, I like this and I like this other really random thing, they all go, oh, go chat to Heather. So I have a great time really finding pathways to make your degrees work for you. So that's a little bit about myself, so I'm happy to chat to anyone after.
Thank you. That's very cool. And I think I saw you actually talking about that probably about 4 years ago and thought, holy, what an amazing journey. So today we're going to go through and ask a few questions just to really dig down and pick these ladies' brains around how to get into degrees in technology. So to get started, I've got 3 questions for you to really get a picture of the windy roads that you've actually faced. So firstly, what did you study? Secondly, what was the catalyst for you being who you are today? And what was the biggest opportunity that has got you to where you are? So we might start with you, Keziah.
Yeah, perfect. Cool. All right. So, I'm studying electrical engineering and IT. And I think the biggest catalyst for me was just my passion and kind of overall love for science. So I knew from a young age that's what I wanted to do. And so just going out and trying everything. And of course the support from my family and friends and mentors, they've really kind of allowed me to shape my career and explore all these different areas that definitely have shaped the direction I've gone in. And as for the biggest opportunity, I'd have to say the NCSS, or National Computer Science School. So I went with Renee and spent 10 days down in Sydney and Melbourne, and we worked on real-world projects and got to meet people in the tech space and see their offices and even do mock job interviews with actual IT professionals. And this was the biggest kind of turning point for me in my career in tech. I'd always considered science, but never really looked into that IT side of it. And it was an incredible experience, meeting all these like-minded people, and then getting to go back the following year as a student mentor of sorts to relive the experience essentially, and get more involved in that technology sphere that really opened my eyes to all these opportunities and shaped the way to where I'm going now, that's for sure.
Trine?
So my study started with multimedia design. But actually, previous to that, there were quite a few other things that I tried out too. I did travel and tourism, I did small business, but multimedia design was the one that set my path to becoming a web designer. And recently, I've been completing my master's in digital communication. So my interests lie within, I really love design, in particular user experience design. I love building websites and building the designs that make the websites work well. And just the way that the digital communication has opened up so much in society now with social media. We have so many things that are happening there, so I'm really interested in that space. The catalyst for me would have to be when I moved from digital marketing over to learning and teaching. So, when I moved to learning and teaching and looking at the technology and the learning environments, I got a real strong passion for bringing that usability design into learning technology. So, that's my catalyst. Thank you.
I'm going to ask for the questions again. What was the second one?
So what did you study?
What did I study?
What was the catalyst for you being who you are today?
Yep.
And what has been the most significant opportunity that has presented itself to you?
Okay. Well, I have 4 degrees. So I started in... I get bored. I started many years ago. I did an undergrad in nursing. And from that, fell in love with neuroscience and how the brain works. So then I did a scholarship and was awarded a scholarship and did a grad cert in neuroscience. And then I had a kid, and I thought, how am I going to keep my nursing skills fresh while I'm trying to raise a family with a husband in the military who's away, and I have a child and I've got shift work and no family around. So then I decided I'll do more study. So I did a Masters of Advanced Practice so that I could keep my skills current and my knowledge current and ensure that my evidence-based practice was as it should be. And then I had another kid, and then I went, 2 kids, husbands away, I'll do more study. So then I thought I'd been around for a little while, and I thought, well, I should hone in on my management and leadership skills. So then I enrolled and I did a Master's of Applied Management, futuristically planning to be in the nurse unit management space many years later. And then I had another kid. So then I went, okay, wait, I've got to reassess what I'm doing. So I always loved preceptoring, I always loved education, and I stepped out into working within an RTO, and then I did my trainer assessor. And from then I stepped into teaching nursing and undergrad programs, and master programs, because I loved it. And I just wanted to share the knowledge that I'd learned. And then from then I sort of realised we're really not teaching much in digital skills to nursing in undergrad programs. It's all postgraduate informatics. And a friend approached me and he said, hey, I work for a tech company. We don't have a clinician. And I said, well, how are you a health tech company without a clinician? I don't understand. He said, come and have a demo. So I came and had a demo. Anyway, long story short, went for an interview and they've employed me in the role that I'm in now. So I guess my catalyst and for me is getting the word out there in the nursing space that you can still be a nurse and work in tech. We can still build in little bits about information technology management into undergraduate programs. It doesn't have to be postgraduate, it doesn't have to be informatics study. What are we not doing that's more than my HR and telehealth? So it's a really exciting space for me to be in. I get to mentor some people in the startup space and really push the boundaries of what else can we add to the nursing curriculum, what else can we do, and what other skills can we give you. So my drive is really to push the education and awareness in that space, that all skills are transferable, and let's build more tech into the nursing undergrad curriculum. That's my story.
It's a very interesting story too. Heather?
Sure. So as I said, I started out as a biologist, and I added to my undergraduate biology degree a teaching degree. I finished both of those at the same time. I was fortunate enough to get a Rotary scholarship, which paid for all of my masters, and I jumped on a plane and came to Australia knowing absolutely no one. And so it's been an amazing 24 years for me here in Australia. I've absolutely loved it. I think the catalyst for me, I guess the first one was sort of jumping on that plane and coming here. But then after that was probably this CSIRO sort of journey that I took in the innovation space. And I am really passionate about education and people having experiences and learning new things. So I would definitely call myself a lifelong learner. I always love learning new things, and I love that eureka moment when you're teaching and you watch a student, no matter what the age is, kind of it all comes together for them, and they then have the tools to go and make impact wherever they want to make in the world. So I guess that's sort of my drive.
Yeah, and you epitomise the concept of challenge breeds change. So I think that's phenomenal. You had a problem, so you did something about it, and you created a whole new industry.
By
Amazing.
accident.
That's the way great things happen. So Renee.
Yes, I'm going to borrow your microphone. Thank you, Heather. Yes, so I started out at university doing, I signed up for a combined degree in chemical engineering and science with a chemistry major. So I was definitely doing chemistry, and I wanted to get into renewables and energy engineering. But then, as I mentioned earlier, I turned up to college, living in college with a couple of guys, and they lived on my floor, and it was 11 o'clock at night, and then they're like, let's teach Renee to program for fun. And then I learned, and I was like, this is cool. I didn't know I could just do this on a laptop that I already have. Cool. And then I added a single course to my degree, and then I managed to squeeze in an entire major as well alongside the things that I was already doing. So I'm very a fan of and then I did another degree. I just did them all at the same time. So I smooshed them in, and then come my honours year, because I was in my chemical engineering degree still, so I had to do honours. I went, okay, what's the list of degrees, projects I can do for honours? Some of these are literally watching concrete dry. I'm simply not going to do that. So I asked one of the lecturers who I knew was into renewable engineering and also into coding if I could do something better. And he's like, yeah, come on in. And yeah, I did a combined renewable machine learning model for how we could predict based on the weather and the time of the year how we can best use grid and solar power together in battery technology. So I went, cool, I'm into this. I'm deep in the coding space. So I didn't actually ever go into chemical engineering, but I went to the CSIRO next after that at Data 61 to keep going on that path. So that's how I actually ended up in this line of work rather than actually chemical engineering, what I signed up for. So my biggest, I guess there's a couple of, so the next question was what's the impetus for me doing what I do now? And I think once I got into this space, and it was like, there's no girls here, and like, why didn't I know about this? And why does every woman that I talk to have the same story where they like did a loop-de-loop and they went around the back and they came in and now they're in technology? It's like, that is not good. And also, I'm the only girl in this room, and I'm going to show all the boys how it's done, and really worked my way to the top of the class. So that's kind of like my drive that lives somewhere inside me that comes out no matter where I go. And I've happened to end up in technology where there's a big thing that I can do to push that drive and help other people get involved. So I think my biggest moments were obviously that night that I learned to code. Everything, I guess, has stemmed from there, but two other notable ones. So at some point, I was super, like women in tech do, they have imposter syndrome. It's what we do, and we think we're not good enough at things. So there's this program called the Girls Programming Network, which I'd heard about, which is related to the computer camp that Keziah was talking about earlier. And I was reluctant to get involved as a volunteer for like a year or so because I'm like, I'm just learning. I couldn't possibly teach a girl how to code. Eventually, I was pressured into going along and got, kind of thrown in the deep end. Like, oh my God, thank you for coming. We're so glad you're here. We need more people. Can I get you to do this lecture on dictionaries? Also, can I get you to do this job? And I was like, okay. I could go a lecture, and it kind of went from there. So I realised that actually I did know what I was talking about. And from like a couple of months later, the person who was running that organisation had to step back for personal reasons. And I thought she was just going away for a one term. And then I'm like, okay. And she was like begging people to someone step up so we didn't have to cancel the program. So okay, what's involved? And I've been doing stuff with college and like how to run an event, like a party or whatever. So I could possibly do something. And she said, oh yeah, you just have to send some emails and then turn up early with the fruit. And I'm like, emails and fruit? I can do that. So I signed up, and it turns out that was a horrible lie. I don't know if she realised it at the time, but it was so much more than that. It was building the parachute on the way down moment of, we need content for this workshop, and the people who are theoretically doing it aren't doing it, so let's get that happening. But like getting involved, I realised there were all these things that we kept talking about adding to the program. So not only did I go, let's build the parachute on the way down, but like let's keep like amping up the wind speed or something, to add to this metaphor, to make this even more difficult for myself, because we can do so much more with this program. And we took it from being just 40 girls learning to code each term in Sydney to 2,000 girls learning to code a year nationally. So saying yes to the thing I didn't know I was saying yes to was like a key moment. And then a year and a half ago, I realised that my boss was terrible, and so I just jumped out of another plane and started my own business, because I realised all the skills that I had from running this national program that I accidentally joined and then nationalised had set me up with a huge network, and I developed all these skills and everything, and then went, I don't have to work for a jerk, I can just start a business. And then I did that and accidentally got a job at Microsoft along the way. So it's a very confusing story, but that's kind of how it goes. Just keep jumping out of planes and then land on another plane and then jump out of that one. That's my tip. So say yes and jump.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for giving such in-depth answers. One thing that I think we can all agree on is that if you stacked up all of these ladies' qualifications, you could probably use it as a doorstop. They're huge. But it doesn't have to start with really, long journeys in education. My own journey in technology actually started with an advanced diploma in information technology here at TAFE. a really long time ago, and I did it because I wanted to have a year off before I went to university, and my mum said I couldn't sit on my butt all year, so I did computers, and that got me into an amazing life. So don't discount, looking at the micro-credentials, looking at the TAFE qualifications, because they are really spot on when it comes to competencies. Okay, so this one's just for Trine. I'm going to shrink them down a little bit. Are there things that are surprising to you in your job and your industry that what you thought that they were going to be?
Yeah, so I would have to say everything is surprising to me when it comes to technology. It's advancing so quickly, and even now, as a learning technologist, we're looking at extended reality, which includes the virtual and the augmented and the mixed. But another interesting thing that's happening there is this co-presence, the sense of co-presence when you're in that virtual reality. So that's something that I would really like to explore more. Can we bring that out a bit more for learning? And I think at the moment, we really need to wait for that technology to be a bit more mainstream, a bit more available and a bit more comfortable to wear. But there's certainly so many possibilities there with that sense of co-present. Like, I've connected with people all over the world in a virtual headset where I can move around and I can move my hands and head movements, and there's a real connection, like you feel like they're in the same space as you. So what was the other question?
I think that was it. What were the things that were surprising about you and your job and your industry?
So at the moment, I would say that's a surprise to me, how advanced the technology and what's happening in that space. And how it's just breaking down those physical communication barriers and the amount of interactions that we can have within technology. So, yep.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so this one's for you, Keziah. If you're pitching IT and digital careers or your current job to a group of young people, what would you say?
Yeah, definitely. That's such an interesting question, because I think the best way to say it is there is no just one career. Just like we've heard today, there's no right way to get into the industry. You can find your passion and just follow it and kind of lead you anywhere you want to go. And even it's such an incredible community and even work experience. So going out and seeing these companies, it's really just an incredible kind of level of an industry, and so many incredible things you can do with it, following any aspect, linking into any career that you want. There's so much freedom to kind of explore what you want and discover whatever interests you. And even we don't know, by the end of my degree, I don't know what career I could be going into. We could have these new careers that have opened up that we've never even thought about before. So there's just so much flexibility and so many exciting things coming out of the industry that, who knows what we're going to end up doing.
Yeah, amazing. And I think it's really interesting that you don't actually have to be super techie to have a career in technology. It's all about attitude. So I'm going to direct this one to you, Heather. What are the personal attributes, mental, emotional and social, do you think it's important to have a successful career in technology?
I think probably the biggest one for me was, and I think I see that now in other people, is don't be okay with the status quo. So if something doesn't work for you, be bold, be curious, be brave, go out and fix it. So I now take that into every aspect of my life. So when I do something, I'm like, how can I make this better? What's the 1% that I can change to make this better every time? So that's the first characteristic. I think the second one is be your authentic self. I met so many people along the way that were very different, and I sometimes in the beginning was like, I need to be just like them. But me is good enough, and you is good enough, and I think for all of us to find our passion in life, to find the things that we want to do is really, really inspiring. So be your authentic self. And the next one is around helping. So I know for me, I was helped along the way, and find yourself a mentor. So mentors are so helpful and they help you, but as you're on your journey, wherever you are in that journey, you can also be the helper. And so I think wherever you are on that pathway, to always look back and make sure that you're inspiring the next generation for change, I think is really important. So I think for me, those are the three big sort of characteristic sort of things. Yeah.
Yeah, that's terrific. And it's interesting that you mentioned about mentors, because I was just going to ask the exact same question to Sarah, and particularly since you have had a very different journey into tech, starting from nursing. How important was having a mentor to your success and your networks?
First of all, I had to find one. Yes, sorry. I really had trouble finding a mentor, to be honest. I didn't know who the female leaders were in the tech space. I didn't know where to go to find the information, and it was purely by chance on LinkedIn that something popped up about the Australian Institute of Digital Health, and I saw a lady there called Kate Casey, photo of her big bright personality, and it said Chief Nursing Information Officer, and I went, aha, she's me, great, there's one of us. So I reached out to Kate, and we had a conversation, and I found out there's a very small faculty of us that work within the Australian College of Nursing, and it was the same problem. How do you find a mentor if you're not within an organisation that does that for you? And there are a handful of hospitals that are now doing mentorship and leadership programs, particularly for women, to advance through the hierarchy. So keep looking, or network, find someone, talk to people. You'd be surprised at the amount of connections that I've made by chance that have helped me very much shape and support me in this space. So ask around, I'm sure somebody knows someone. Get on Google and find out. Google's very powerful.
Yeah, I think that is a really challenging one, and it's really interesting that you found it on a mentor from LinkedIn. I think that definitely media and social media is important, but I'll direct this one to you, Renee. What do you think is the role of industry, media, parents and schools in maintaining awareness and interest in digital careers?
Yeah, I think there's the saying, if you can't see it, you can't be it. And there's just so many different tech careers out there. There's each one's like a fingerprint. They're all different in a different way, even if they have the same job title. It's like, oh, well, you're working with different technologies to solve different problems, and there's something out there for everyone. And I think getting that knowledge into schools and into parents' heads, and helping them understand this is a great career option for their kids or for their students, and there's a whole bunch of different pathways into it, as we've been discussing. But yeah, it is for every kid if the kid wants it to be. Even if they're running the Girls Programming Network, I'll make sure to make it every opportunity for every girl. It's not like you come in and you put on your hoodie and you sit in the corner alone and you don't talk to the other girls. At the start of the day, we have every one of the volunteers say, hi, I'm Sally and I play the trombone. Hi, I'm Tina and I love baking. I'm Gemma and I do dancing. And it's we're all different people, and coding can still be for us. And we can combine coding with those different loves of ours and take that somewhere. And I think if we can get that understanding that you don't just have to be this one kind of person, and get teachers disseminating that knowledge, and now that we have the national curriculum that has everybody learning coding, everyone's getting that practical experience to see that they can code and they can build something and they can change the world with their laptop. So I think, it's a hugely important role, because every kid has a teacher, and that's where we all start out. And if you there's so many jobs that you get to see every day. You can see a doctor, you can see a teacher, you can see a builder, but you can't get to see a lot of people who are doing technology because they're sitting in an office somewhere and they're not the people who are out and about. So having engagement opportunities so teachers can work with the industry to get people in the room and discussing what their job's like and how they get to work with other people and be creative, and how they're solving a problem that they understand and are really passionate about. I think that's a huge way to get everyone involved in technology.
Yeah, awesome. So true. If you can't see it, you can't be it. Okay, so this question's for everybody, but I'm going to we could probably all get on our soapboxes about this one. So 1 minute all, ladies. So when I started in technology, like way more many years ago than I would care to admit to, we were having the conversation about how can we get more women in digital careers. Why are we still having the same conversation? Why is it such a thing that we have to have a panel about promoting digital careers for women? I'll start with you, Keziah.
Yeah. That's definitely such a hard question. Definitely one that I've been also looking, trying to find these ways we can kind of break past these barriers. But I think we really still have so many of these biases and barriers kind of ingrained into society that breaking them it's easy to say, but getting into it and making that difference is, proving to be a lot more difficult than I think anyone would have imagined. But just giving the girls the confidence to kind of go out and break the barriers is definitely the hardest part, because you have to believe you can go out and do it to be able to. So things like this, having these inspiring women to kind of lead the way and make the difference, but it still comes down to, all the students are kind of fighting, I guess, to reach these careers they're interested in, and overcoming the biases. From such a young age, we're told that, girls, you need to work harder to get the same level as the boys. And throughout high school even, I thought I was terrible at maths. I hated it. I had to work so hard. And I got to university and I loved my first maths subject. Like, it's been fantastic. And just realising these things, you kind of need to be able to break past those biases that are passed down all through, from the very base level all the way up to once we're in industry and facing those biases as well. That's definitely such a large-scale change that needs to be made.
I would say it's deeply embedded culture within our society, and it starts from when we're babies. And I think just seeing, believing that we can be that, like hearing from our family and friends that, that's what you can be. Also, what you see on TV, advertisements, I think it's all just, it's deeply embedded. So I think we just need to break through that and do more things like this and get the word out there that if I can do it, you can do it.
I think we have our theme, it's culture, because I was going to say the same thing. I think it is very much I'm somewhat older. I've been around a little while, so I think there's this very much tri-generational change in how we think a female's role is within a family, for starters. But now my daughter is a tech goddess. She's 9, she's on iPad, she's telling me how to work out our new Apple TV that I couldn't even figure out the other day. She's amazing, and technology is normal to her, but when I grew up, we didn't have technology until I was like 15, so it was not even something I ever thought of. So I think there is more awareness of STEM for younger females now, and I think it's just a matter of continually promoting it. They can do tech if they want to do it, go on to it. Fantastic, shouldn't matter what gender you are, just go have fun.
I think kind of carrying on from all of that, for me, it's about a mindset. It's about an innovation mindset. And so if we can each bring to the table that curiosity, that willingness to solve problems, it doesn't matter whether it's an arts problem or a science problem or an engineering problem. I think if we all become lifelong problem solvers and really embed technology not as this separate thing, but that it's just a stream within all facets of our life and within society, I think that's a really big cultural change that's really needed, is that change in thinking.
Yeah, as an educator, I see a huge problem where girls are afraid to make a mistake. And computer programming is full of making mistakes over and over again and running your code until oh, that bug's fixed and that bug's fixed, and eventually it's done. And then you look at it and oh, it's so easy to do now that I know how to do it. Just don't make any mistakes. But we don't encourage girls to try things that involve making mistakes. We encourage them to be perfect every single day, and that's really hard to do in technology. And so I think we should just get out there and give girls the chance to mess things up. Give them Lego, give them toys like that to play with that aren't about being perfect and pretty, and it's about getting your hands dirty, and it's not perfect every time, and you're just building something, and it doesn't always have to be the biggest and the best shiniest thing. You just got to start somewhere, because women, we've got to be in tech. Women were the first programmers, back in the war when the first computers were invented, they had the computers, the ladies who used to do the calculations before computers existed, come in and they became the first computer programmers because they already knew how to do the calculations. And then through stereotypes and testing, like defining who should be in jobs through psychometric testing, we've narrowed it down to men should be in computer science, even though women were the original computer scientists, and we've stereotyped them out of the job. But it's theirs, and they should have it back.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so on the vein of if you see it, you can be it, what is one of the super cool projects that you're working on or trends that people should maybe go and have a little Google and have a look at as an opportunity for their career?
I think one of the most exciting programs I've got to work on is working to use sensor technologies to monitor creek health and environmental health. So putting sensors into creeks so we can gather more information about how construction sites are affecting the flow of the water and the quality of the water, and how these are affecting after rain events and all these kind of things. So just collecting the data we can to understand these environments more, and then even to putting them on light posts and on drones so we can kind of map the city and collect this data. That's so fascinating to kind of be able to see these trends around the city. And yeah.
Is that with Lexia or is that with the council?
A little bit of both.
Yeah,
everywhere awesome. I can get them.
So just a couple that I'm working on currently is one is introducing accessibility into learning, and the way that we've done that is we've used a tool that can score the accessibility of any file and give academics advice on how they can make that file more accessible. And then the other one that we're looking at is, if at the moment we have discussion boards on the subject sites, but if we introduce instant messaging, that quasi-synchronous communication, what would that bring into getting the students to talk to one another a bit more and learn from each other? So that's a couple there.
That's really cool, by the way. I'm going to follow that up with clinical messaging. We're doing a lot in the hospital space for clinical messaging for teams and point of care alerts. So if we have a staff member that's under duress, we come in and we implement mobile duress tags so that their security and safety teams can come down and assist as quickly as they can. For me, it's really exciting to actually be giving something a little back to the community, and if it's simple as giving a nurse 30 minutes in her day back and making her feel safe at work, I feel that that's really, really important. That's me.
One of the projects that I'm working on is in the environmental DNA sort of space. And so, as I said, we go out and take samples of either freshwater or marine environments, and we collect the DNA sequences. And so scientists all over the world now are getting billions and billions of sequences back. And then they need to sort them and clean them and identify all of these amazing diversity and things that they find in those environments. And so that's a really interesting tech sort of space. And then my research now is sort of involved with how do we get uptake of this new technology. So I'm interviewing policymakers about why they haven't taken up this type of monitoring. And I'm sort of working with scientists as well. What are their barriers to adoption? So I'm really interested in barriers and drivers to innovation and why we take up new technologies.
Awesome. Those are all such cool projects. I'm thinking what's the cool projects I'm doing at the moment? And the thing is with my Microsoft job, my job is just to learn new stuff about Microsoft technology and then make fun little projects. And I'm actually having a lot of fun doing it. It's a lot easier than I imagined it was going to be, because I've always been scared of cloud and all those things, but it's actually they just plug and play and slot in together. So I've had a lot of fun making little projects to make a little web app that translates things from one language to another, and you could send message to your pen pal or something like that, or making little birthday party invitation apps, which has just been really cute and really fun, and just a great way to show off that these pieces of tech aren't that hard. But yeah, other than just doing my actual job, which is to play with technology, I've been working with the AusSTEM Foundation, and they've just made a new device called the Kookaberry. And if you use a microbit, it's a lot like a microbit. but with a display. And it's just like a tiny computer aimed at being used in education to let kids like measure, pH and water, temperature, and or have, flashing lights and buttons and all kinds of things. And I've been working with them to like really improve how they can use that in the classroom and like what kind of sensors and things would be fun. And I've just used it in my business to get 185 Year 7 girls to solve a murder mystery using kookaberries. And next term, I'm going to be teaching 185 Year 8 girls how to make an escape room using them. So just prototyping fun little things with embedded tech is something I'm really enjoying doing.
Cool. Very interesting. Okay, wow, so much opportunities. I'm going to finish our panel today with just one more question. Well, actually, two parts, because I don't like to not have an opportunity. If you were to know what you know today when you started your journey with technology, what would be the most helpful thing to you? And what would be one piece of advice that you could give any young person thinking about going into technology as a career choice to help them on the way?
Yeah, so I think I'm still fairly early into my tech journey, so I'm sure there's a lot more things that I'm going to learn along the way. But I think for now, just that going out, following your passions and trying anything you can, getting involved, emailing that company, just, see what they might say, and just, getting involved in everything, seeing where it takes you.
So I think what careers will be out there in, say, 10 years' time are unknown. So really, and technology is all around us now, and so therefore digital specialists are required in many different fields. And I would just say, really hone into your special interests. Whatever your interests are, go into them, and you sort of carve out your own career pathway, because you won't really know what's going to be coming in the future around technology. Just so whatever you're interested in, go with that. Keep the technology fundamentals in there as well, of course, but just hone into your special interest and enjoy it.
That's a really, really good question. I would just probably say, if you're interested in tech, go for it. But second to what you're saying, tech is changing incredibly fast, and we don't know the applications that we'll be able to use in 10 years' time. So whatever tech skills that you have, just be prepared to pivot. Be okay with doing something a little bit different. Definitely lean forward, not backwards, and take any opportunity that is given for you to think a little bit differently. If you like doing graphic design, you might want to build a web, you might end up in application development. It's still okay because it's still all applicable. Your skills will still be able to be utilised and diversified.
I think for me, I think we're all sort of saying the same sort of message, but I think for me it's about being okay with not knowing what the future looks like. You might not be able to define it, you might not be able to see it, but if you really love what you're doing every day and just continual learning. I think every morning I read and learn more, and I think looking back, I would have told myself to never, I guess sometimes when I got busy, I sort of compromised on my time in the morning a little bit, and I think that keeping on with that learning is just so important as the world is changing so quickly, and we're going to have lots of different careers.
So I think my thing that I've learned that along the way is that other people don't know all the things that I know. Because I always assume, I'm having trouble with this thing, and that Bob over there is talking about this technology, I don't know anything about it. Bob must be so much smarter than me because Bob must know everything that I know, plus this one really fancy thing that he's talking about. And once you assume that for Bob and Steve and Tim, you're like, there's all these things I don't know, and all these people are really smart and they know everything that I know, and then you just start feeling like, am I even supposed to be here? But realising that everybody else doesn't know everything that I know was really useful, and it's actually the things that I know and my experience as a person is really valuable to a team, because you've got Bob, Steve and Tim, they're not a Renee and they're not a Sally and they're not a Tina, and you don't have all those perspectives. So just being you, being your authentic self, as we discussed earlier, is really important, and just having the confidence in the skills that you do have, and that you might have some things that other people aren't aware of. So I think that's my biggest learning. And then also, my advice to somebody going into a tech career is go in with that knowledge, and also don't be afraid to take the fork in the path, because I've taken many a fork in my path and ended up in a job title that I was pretty sure is just made up, regional cloud advocate. Like, I'm sure that didn't exist 10 years ago. So yeah, you just end up doing fun things by following the things that are interesting, following your passion, and just doing cool stuff, and then you do another cool thing and it leads to another cool thing you didn't know existed either. So it's just really fun, and you learn a lot of cool skills along the way, and you meet a lot of cool people by just going with the people you like and doing a cool thing, and then seeing who else you meet and what else you discover.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for your time today. Before I let you go though, does anyone have any questions that they would like to ask the panellists?
Hey, more directed at Keziah, but everyone's free to answer. So I've got two young daughters, 7 and 5, and I imagine that based on everything you were doing, all the opportunities you were taking, that your parents were facilitating that. And I got no idea what my kids want to do when they grow up, but I just wanted to ask if your parents helped, and if so, how? What did they do that was helpful?
Yeah, definitely. It's a great one. My parents definitely helped. They're, my biggest supporters in everything I've done. But really the biggest thing is, giving them those opportunities. So if they see something they're interested in, if you see something in the What's On guide that kind of is aligned to their interests, just going for it and encouraging them to take the opportunities and push them to explore things outside of their comfort zone as well. So there are always things that wasn't sure if I should do, but they're always there, telling me, just go for it, see what happens. Find it if they see something that they think I might be interested in, showing me, and just encouraging me kind of in general is the biggest thing. If they're following their passions and kind of seeing what interests them, and then just helping them along the way.
Just to add on to that, seeing the girls that come into the Girls Programming Network, which is for Year 5 to Year 12 students, some of them don't want to come the first time. Their parents, they're amazing at computers, they've got their own Minecraft server, but they're really shy and they don't want to go in, but they're like, come on, give it a go. And then by the end of the day, they're coming out with their arms around their 2 new best friends. So having that little bit of a push can be really useful if you're like, I know this is going to be something you enjoy, even if you're a bit nervous about going into it. And just sometimes a parent will sign up their kid for this thing and I guess I'll go, it'll be fine. And then next time is I signed myself up and I signed up 5 of my friends and we're always coming back. So just a little bit of a look out, as Keziah said, what's out there, is really useful.
So in Townsville, I think it's really important. I had small kids as well. I think it's really important to get kids hands-on experiences with lots of different things. So if you follow the Townsville STEM Hub, they promote all of the activities or lots of science and tech activities that are happening within the region. And I think the more we work together as a group to sort of promote experiences for kids, the earlier you can get them out there trying it, hands-on sort of stuff, I think the better. So.
And congratulations for actually already be thinking about your kids' future. That's awesome. Involved parents really are the biggest opportunity that kids have, is taking an interest, and whatever that interest is, it's kudos. Does anyone else have any questions that they'd like to ask? Well, thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much for hearing us out. I'd just like to get everybody to give a great warm applause to the panellists, because they've given up their Saturdays today because they're passionate about it. And thank you, Tev.